Hello and welcome to the trade setup. In this video we are looking at Uranium Energy. It is time for another update, and on this chart we have been looking for an additional high within this area. We have this additional high, so we need to be extremely careful because we could top at any moment now, and we have some hints in terms of the structure that we should expect within this area, as well as relevant levels of support to track for continuation higher that are critical to be held. Now, before we actually go into all the details, I want to go through the larger time frame for any of you who might be new to provide the full context, because there are some substantial risks on this chart. So we have here to begin this initial 1-2 setup. Very nice structure. We have retraced perfectly into the last level of support and extended to the upside. We have here another potential 1-2 setup and then another 1-2 setup here we could track. We were looking for a third wave to unfold, and unfortunately this really does seem not to be the case, because within this structure we have failed to even create an impulse. Now, could this be another 1-2 setup that would be part of the large wave tree? Certainly, of course, we will even track this idea, but it doesn't need to be. You see, on this chart we could also consider this wave 1 to have not completed yet, because I could track this instead to be something like a 1-2, third, fourth and a fifth. In such an interpretation, I would be tracking a leading diagonal where a fifth wave would have an A, B, C pattern unfold within this area, in which case, once we actually complete the internal count in this diagonal structure we have been tracking, we could form such a significant top that we should be prepared for a larger wave 1 up and a wave 2 correction. For such an idea, if we were to have already topped, the area of support for the wave 2 would start at the $4.3 level. That would be the first level of support, and it extends all the way down to the 84-cent level. Now, I don't believe necessarily we have topped yet, but I do see the risk of this being the actual structure to unfold. Now, does it need to push deep into this area of support? Absolutely not. I would be happy with a 3-wave pattern into the first level before we continue in a larger uptrend, if this structure is to manage to hold and build its pattern. Now, with that said, currently I would like to still see further extensions higher within this fifth wave. I don't necessarily believe we have a top in place, but we have the area of resistance to track that would tell us when this structure will become very difficult to track for continuation higher. Remember, we were looking for a 5-wave pattern within this area. We have it now. It has fulfilled our expectations. And we have even had a lot of success tracking it along the way. Yeah, ever since the first video, we had here an internal 1-2 setup we were tracking, and we were looking even for a potential impulse, but we had over 10 successful trade setups within this push alone, and this was probably one of the largest areas of support, one of the largest areas of accumulation we were tracking for continuation in a fifth wave, and we were able to very accurately determine when we should expect a bottom to be in place. Yeah, we were looking for a potential bottom in the initial push within this area. We got another extension. We were still looking for a potential bottom and the next wave to the upside, and it is fulfilled. We are not owed anything. We are not owed for this structure to extend. We were talking about the $20 level. We got there. We have achieved the $20 level. But of course, I mentioned we are tracking still continuation higher. And that is because within this structure, within this fifth wave to the upside, we are tracking an A, B, C pattern to unfold. And within this wave Z, I do not have a full count. So it is suggested to me that we should expect still further continuation higher. Now, of course, it does come with some caveats, because we could see an early failure. It's not that it's impossible to form a top already, but it is preferred that we extend higher. So within this pattern, we have been looking at this wave C as a 1-2, third, fourth, and the fifth. We have been tracking it as an ending diagonal, and within this wave 4, we were expecting further continuation lower if it was to have started. Yeah, we had already formed a low within this area, but we were still tracking an even more bullish interpretation that ultimately did fail. Yeah, we were tracking this blue scenario that could have allowed an impulse to form within this area, where we would have liked to see an extension within this fifth wave. And not only that we would have liked to see this extension, we actually kind of needed to build this pattern to have a reliable impulse complete. And of course, I provided you relevant levels of support that would have been an early indication this structure is going to fail. We fell below the 61.8% retracement. This was the last level to track for continuation to the upside, the $18.4 level. We broke below it in a sustained manner. We have managed to retrace back higher, but it didn't manage to build the actual pattern. So right now, we can even go ahead and pretty much discard this from the chart. I will keep it hidden for now, but I don't really believe it has a chance anymore to build this as a larger impulse. And we come back to our main interpretation, which we have been tracking from the very beginning in this idea of an ABC pattern within a wave tree. Within this structure, we have a full count. We had a full count a while ago, but we got an extension, not a problem. And we are looking for the wave 4 correction into the area of support between the $17.8 all the way down to the $14.4 level. In the previous video, I mentioned to you that even if we got to the levels of support, which we did in the initial retracement, I would expect similar proportions for the wave 4 correction with what we had in our previous correction in the wave 2, still part of this wave C. So yeah, if we were to form a bottom here and extend higher, I would have been looking still for other extensions, but now that the proportions do start to line up, I am looking for a bottom to form within this wave 4 in green. Now, be warned, if we extend here within the fifth wave, form a top, there is a very good chance this large fifth wave in white will have been completed. It's not necessary. As I mentioned many times, extensions are always possible, but in the case of this chart, they will not be needed and a significant top would be able to be in place. Now, for continuation higher, I'm watching again the $14.4 level. I provided you this area of support in the previous video when we already had our top within the wave 3. This remains unchanged. In this wave 4 correction, I'm looking for a 3-wave pattern, normally within an ABC structure to unfold as part of a diagonal structure, and I would be looking for an ideal target at the 100% extension of the wave A, but in this case, we have actually exceeded even the 138.2% extension of this initial push to the downside. Now, based on the current pattern that we see on the chart, it is a bit worrying because we don't see a wave C within this area. Yeah, clearly it could form an extension to build an actual wave C, but what seems rather more likely to me is that we are building an ABC pattern internally within this area. This means a couple of things. Firstly, I could be tracking this as a 1-2 setup then and this as a third wave down. Sure, it could be a WXY pattern within this wave 4, but that is not very common. Of course, sometimes we see such unfinished corrections even within diagonal structures, but it's not necessarily going to be the most likely interpretation, and we would need to be prepared for further extensions lower as part of a potential 5-wave move forming to the downside. This does actually imply some risks because as long as we hold below the 61.8% retracement for such an idea, we would need to be prepared for extensions lower even once this third wave is complete. I will be looking for a fourth and a fifth, and if we build this initial 5-wave move to the downside, I will need to look for a 3-wave correction and then at the very least another 5-wave move to the downside. This could very easily break our structure and even create a failure for continuation to higher prices, even create a more significant top on this chart. Yeah, this is within a very risky situation. Now, what I'm tracking internally within this push to the downside will be, as I was mentioning, an ABC pattern to unfold and form a more significant bottom that could be within this wave 3 in yellow, could be, let's say, even within a different interpretation. So let's say we track this in orange, but once we actually form this wave C, we might form the bottom of the wave 4. Yeah, sometimes we actually do get even WXY patterns within the wave 4 of an ending diagonal. And in this case, I would be watching for an ideal target for the wave C at the 100% extension of the wave A, the $16.2 level. Now, remember that is the ideal target. It doesn't need to get there and it doesn't need to stop there. But within this wave C internally, I do notice that we don't have yet a 5-wave move. So while this pattern does look incomplete, I would strongly prefer an additional extension lower. So I will be tracking exactly that against the 50% retracement where I'm tracking an impulse within this structure to the downside. So if we manage to break above the $17.6 level, it would be a signal to me that this wave C that we are tracking will not extend, will not form an additional low. I do prefer that we form an additional low within this area and that we hit the 38.2% retracement, for example, the $16.4 level. The $17.6 level at the 50% retracement is very much in line with the structural resistance we have formed here with this more significant top we have in our wave tree in white. This is a likely point, if we manage to extend higher, to take us back down into a fifth wave internally within this wave C to the downside. So yeah, I do strongly prefer that we get another low within this wave C. This could form a more significant bottom, but I would be still prepared to see an extension in this yellow interpretation. I believe there is significant risk on this chart right now, and if we follow through within the yellow interpretation, I will be prepared for a more significant top to even be in place. Now, for a quick recap, we are looking for at least another low within this wave C. That is when we can consider this count as full, either within a WXY pattern or a 1, 2, 3, but then we would expect a fourth and a fifth to take us to lower prices. Within this additional extension in this area, the 38.2% retracement seems a likely level for me to form a more substantial bottom, and against the $14.4 level, we can still look for a continuation higher. Ultimately, I don't want you to obsess over the counts that are possible within this chart. There will always be a number of different scenarios that are able to take charge and that are able to overrun your expectations. The areas of support stay much more consistent and are able to provide you understanding with much less emotions involved and will ultimately protect you. And for now, these are the levels, this is the trade setup. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, don't forget to subscribe and let me know what else you want me to cover, and I'll do my best to do that in the days and weeks ahead. And until then, I hope you have a nice day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.